All right, all praises to the Most High. I pray that the Most High got my tongue, my thoughts, and for everyone to open up their minds, their hearts, and accept this gospel that the Most High have given us by the way of the Messiah, by the way of our brother Luke and 16. So I guess we go ahead with verse 1.
Con. And he said also unto his disciples, there was a certain rich man which had a steward, and the same was accused unto him that he had wasted his goods.
All right, so we're starting off with him speaking to the disciples about a certain steward. So I'm going to go ahead and get to the definition real quick for a steward. A proprietor has entrusted management of his office. Okay, so here's this Lord that has entrusted another man to handle his affairs. All right, so go ahead to verse 2.
And he called him and said unto him, how is it that I hear this of thee? Give an account of thy stewardship, for thou mayest be no longer steward.
All right, so apparently he heard some bad things that was going on with the man that he entrusted to manage his affairs. So the Lord wanted to see the proof of his earnings. And I pose a question for us. How do we, for the most part, to show that we are good stewards towards the Most High, and how we are trustworthy? And I just came up with 3 quick sayings, and one of them is obey commands. Obey his commands, that being the Most High. Love your brother, and don't love worldly things. That's just the name of few. But let's see what the steward done. Go ahead to verse 3.
Then the steward said within himself, what shall I do? For my Lord taketh away from me the stewardship. I cannot dig. To beg, I am ashamed.
All right, go ahead to verse 4.
I am resolved what to do, that when I am put out of the stewardship, they may receive me unto their houses.
All right, so the steward come up with a plan. Because of his pride, he couldn't dig. Because of his pride, he couldn't beg. And let's see what the scriptures basically say about pride. So I'm just going to go ahead and read this myself. Proverbs 11 and 12. When pride comes, then comes disgrace. But with the humble is wisdom. So he came up with a plan in his mind to deceive the debtors, to get on their good side, because again, he was thinking worldly things. He knew he was basically in trouble, and instead of taking the spiritual side of things, he was going to take the worldly side of things. And basically, all he had to do was probably start praying, actually repent to the Most High, and talk to his Lord, try to reconcile, try to straighten out the mess that he had made. But we're gonna see what else he did over his worldly thinking. Go ahead to the next verse.
So he called every one of his Lord's debtors unto him, and said unto the first, how much owest thou unto my Lord?
All right. So here it is again. He is setting up his plan, and he's asking the debtors how much do they owe. So let's go into verse 6.
And he said, 100 measures of oil. And he said unto him, take thy bill and sit down quickly and write 50.
All right, so here you go. This is where you're starting now. Go ahead and do it quickly. Anytime Me and Priest Harry had talked about this a while back. I don't know if you remember the conversation, but anytime you're doing something quickly, anytime you're trying to do something fast, you're not thinking. The devil always loves that he wants to push you to do things, get it, hurry and get it done. So you can't think upon what you're actually doing. If you humble yourself, take your time, think about your surroundings, thinking about what you're actually doing, then that's when that comforter definitely can come in. But the devil, he always want to rush you. But go ahead with the next verse.
Then said he to another, and how much owest thou? And he said, 100 measures of wheat. And he said unto him, take thy bill and write 80.
All right. So one of the things that this steward is doing is one of the things that he broke of the Most High. Obey his commandments. We know that that shall not steal, which people of this world do daily. This worldly system is kill or be killed, backstabbers. Trust is not even is even valued, and this steward is showing how cunning he is to make sure that he has a place set up for later on. Because again, he don't want to go and do the righteous thing. He want to continue to do what's best. He feels that's what's in his best interest. So go ahead with the next verse.
And the Lord commanded the unjust steward, because he had done wisely, for the children of this world are in their generation wiser than the children of light.
All right. So here we go. We're talking about the generation of this world that wise, because the generation of that world in this at that time when Yahweh was walking the earth and until he left has been wiser than the children of light, because the children of light are not of this world. So this generation, they're of this world, and one of the things that they concentrate with where their treasure is, again, where your heart is, where your treasure is the money, and again, the love of money. And it got even worse from a standpoint of, I mean, there's no loyalty out here in this world, and so the generation is wiser. And let's see what they're getting for their investment. Let me go to Matthew chapter 16, verse 26, and I'll go ahead and just read it. So here's what this generation is investing in. And this is what this is more likely is going to be the outcome if they don't repent. So Matthew 16, verse 26 states, for what is a man profit if he shall gain the whole world and lose his own soul? Or what shall a man give in exchange for his soul? So a lot of people out here exchanging a lot for their soul. And they think this is the way of life. This is the way that I should go. This world means more to me than anything that the Most High can even imagine apparently in their mind that they can get. So let me go to another verse. Give me a second witness on that as well. Philippians 3:3. For we are the circumcision which worship the Most High in the spirit and rejoice in Yahweh Christ and have no confidence in his flesh. So the flesh and the world go hand in hand. So you can't have any confidence in this world, because this world is going to give you a return, a place in damnation. All right, so we're going to go ahead and go to the next verse.
And I say unto you, make to yourselves friends of the mammon of unrighteousness, that when ye fail, they may receive you unto everlasting habitation.
God. All right. So let's go with the that was verse 9, right?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So here it is with verse 9. So go ahead and make yourself friends with the man, with the money, with the wealth. Go ahead and be amongst these people. Because again, in this worldly system, like I stated to you, these friends that these so-called people of this world, rich people, the ones somewhat control, they're used to each other. They know how to maneuver. They know how to they know how to stab you in your back and tell you it's okay. You just sit over there in the corner and bleed to death, but it's okay. You're gonna be you may be able to get out of it, but it's all bloodsuckers. That's what they do. They everyone is a dog eat dog world. Dog eats dog world. And like I stated to you, we got all kind of phrases out here that how is the world, and it is not a good thing. And this world is again, anyone again, as we know, Scripture says, is of the world, is not of the Most High. So we got to keep that in mind, even on our jobs. We got to be equitable with our brothers and our sisters, Gentiles as well. We have to recognize, hey, if I get this promotion, how is it gonna really affect my walk? And so these things that we, when we have customers, we got to be equitable with them. Just because I know Joe over here, that don't mean I have to give him a discount and not be equitable with Bob and those type of things like that. So we just got to keep these things in mind, and we got to continue to walk the straight and narrow when we doing business of this world. But all right, so go ahead with the next verse.
Okay, right here, I would like to make something a little clear.
Okay.
When he said, I say unto you, make to yourselves friends of mammon, of unrighteousness. Now, we already got that they are unrighteous. So what he had done, it was a unrighteous thing. And then he said that when ye fail, okay, so he done made these worldly friends. So when ye fail at what? And this is the spiritual contrast to say that they may receive you unto everlasting habitation, meaning that they cannot receive you unto everlasting habitation. You made friends of the world, but they're going to be unable to receive you. And you were wise in the things of the world, but they're not going to be able to receive you into everlasting habitation. They don't have that position. And when we get further down, that's going to be explained, because it is the Father in Christ that's going to be able to receive you into that. And no man has that position. So when you look at this man with the wheat and the man with the oil, none of them are going to be able to receive you into that heavenly everlasting habitation. They can receive you in their house. And that's what he was thinking. He was thinking on that earthly plane. He was too lazy to work and too prideful to beg. So he is like, I would do this. So he's like, Eureka, and they will receive me unto their house, because what he did, he cut their bills in half. So he made friends with the world, but we keep seeing this unjust with the mammon, that it was unrighteous in what he was doing. It wasn't his. And remember, he was the steward. It wasn't his to give a discount. Right. That was his way of outsmarting the Most High. When we look at this, we are stewards. The Most High say, all souls are mine. And that's why we have to give account. And by the same token, we have to make friends where it counts, heavenly friends. That is through Yahushua HaMashiach, and the Most High. That's the friends that we need to make for that everlasting habitation. And that's about it. If everyone wasn't seeing that. Next verse.
Appreciate you bringing that up. That's on point.
Verse 10. He that is faithful in that which is least is faithful also in much. And he that is unjust in the least is unjust also in much.
So I mean, that's self-explanatory right there. Because again, the Most High, he does give us, and what he does, what he do give us, we have to multiply that, and we can't squander it. And once is trusted, if he trusts us, like the verse said, he would give us more. And that's from a standpoint of on a spiritual level, and also again on a fleshly level. Because for me, a lot of Christians, a lot of people in faith, they think that, hey, I can't have money because I'm not gonna go. I'm not going to heaven, or I'm not going to be one of those that's going to be resurrected. But that's not true. The Most High will give you your heart's desire, but again, it's all about the faith and believing, and how you actually be a steward to what he gives you. And that again, that could be abroad, but it's coming from the Most High. We have to make sure that we be great stewards in using what he gives us. And want to add to that? Want to add to that, Brother Terry?
Khan, I agree with you, brother. That's right on point.
All right. Next verse. Verse 11.
Therefore, if ye have not been faithful in the unrighteous mammon, who will commit to your trust the true riches.
Gone. So here again, it's going back to the steward. He's handling someone else's affairs, and even with he is setting himself up with those debtors. Even the debtors looking like, this man is not trustworthy. There's no way in the world I'm going to actually do business. If it came to it, to actually do some serious business where he would be able to be a steward of mine. And that's the double-edged sword here. You setting yourself up, you think, for the most part, to go, and I'm gonna go on the spiritual level from the standpoint of, you think you're fooling people in the church, or people in the Hebrew community. Some of the things that they do actually exposes their true self. And you can convince yourself that, hey, I'm doing the right thing. False doctrine. We already know about Atlanta. We got a brother down there, and he thinks he's doing the right thing. But and we'll talk about this doctrine later. But at the end of the day, if you are unfaithful with little, there's no way that anyone that's dealing with you is going to be able to give you more in order to squander their opportunity. It's not gonna happen. So even though he was getting himself kind of set up for a relationship with these people, but at the same time he was basically damaging himself, his character, and all. So go ahead to the next verse, or like I said, anyone want to add anything? Feel free.
And if ye have not been faithful in that which is another man's, who shall give you that which is your own?
God. So the Messiah came and have given us the good news, and he wants to preach throughout the world. And if we take that on, that's a big responsibility. And he's looking for us to be faithful. He's looking for us to follow the way that he had us. He wants us to follow the way that he left things in order to follow. And again, this verse is, therefore ye have not been faithful in unrighteous, right? Who will Which verse was that? 12?
12. 12.
Yeah, 12. Salaki. And if ye have not been faithful in that which is another man's, who shall give you that which is your own? So if you can't follow the rules that actually was given to you, this gospel that was actually given to us, and we squander that opportunity, I mean, like the Most High, I mean, how can you use it? We have to be good stewards. We have the word, we have it here in front of us. We can pray on this word. We can use this word to all benefits of the gospel. And once we again show that we can do these things, then the Most High will record it, and we will be in His eyes good stewards. So we just got, like I say, we have to stay mindful. We have to stay on we have to stay focused. We have to stay on the straight and narrow. So go ahead with the next verse.
No servant can serve two masters, for either he will hate the one and love the other, or else he will hold to the one and despise the other. Ye cannot serve the Most High and Mammon.
So again, if you're of this world, you can't serve the Most High. You can't. And the scriptures got a witness to that. Brother Terry, would you, Brother Anaya, Brother Aubrey.
Come on.
Yeah. Could you bring that script up?
Which one?
Lovers of the world. You can't be, if you don't love the world, you can't love the Most High. I'm paraphrasing a little bit, but you know what I'm saying. You know what scripture I'm speaking about?
I'm trying to think what scripture you're referring to.
If you of the world, you can't. Let's see. But it's in there. I say it like that. So
First John 2.
1 John. Yeah, go ahead and bring that out.
All right, so this is 1 John chapter 2. Verse 15. You want me to read it?
Go ahead and read it. Yeah.
All right, I'll read verses 15 and 16. Love not the world, neither the things that are in the world. If any man love the world, the love of the Father is not in him. For all that is in the world, the lust of the flesh and the lust of the eyes and the pride of life is not of the Father, but is of the world.
So that is, that's a second witness right there. It's self-explanatory, and we cannot love the world or the things in this world, and because there's a lot of traps in this world. A lot of people have actually, as we know, in our families, and even us, we then got caught up in this world, and the Most High has been merciful upon us to get out of a lot of those situations. And we're talking about lust, covetousness. I mean, you name it, the world has it for you. And the Most High, he can't dwell with a worldly person, because again, that's day and night. It's dark and light, and it don't mix. But go ahead with the next verse. Thank you for that, brother.
Verse 14. And the Pharisees also, who were covetous, heard all these things, and they derided him, And he,
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
and he said unto them, ye are they which justify yourselves before men, but the Most High knoweth your heart, for that which is highly esteemed among men is abomination in the sight of the Most High.
Abomination or disgust. That's one thing the Most High hates. So the Pharisees heard the Messiah exposing their darkness. So they turned up their nose to him. In Jeremiah 17:9-10, let me read that. The heart is deceitful above all things and desperately wicked. Who can know it? And the Lord searched the heart, and I tried the reins, even to give every man according to his ways and according to the fruit of his doings. So here it is, these scribes and Pharisees walking around like they all be all. And on the outer side, as we know, they looked the part, but the inside, their mind, their heart was just basically wicked. And the Messiah called them out as we know, every chance he got. And this exposing them for what they were. And they, again, being covenants. And that's one of the scriptures that states that covenants is, we all know that that's a sin. And what people would do to get someone else, what someone else has, a lot of people have went to a great measure to take it. So anyone else got anything they want to add to that verse? All right, so let's go to the next verse, verse 16.
The law and the prophets were until John. Since that time, the kingdom of the Most High is preached, and every man presseth into it.
All right, go to verse 17.
And it is easier for heaven and earth to pass than one tittle of the law to fail.
All right, so it says up until the time of John, that was the Torah. Basically, that was the Torah and the prophets. And since the good news of the kingdom of the Most High has been proclaimed, and there's many that's basically trying to push to get in. Once this gospel came, it overtook and what it was meant to do exactly that, being spread out throughout a new way, but also the law still was intact, but it was a new way that the Messiah was bringing to everyone throughout that region, throughout the world. And again, for those that believe, that they were pushing and to get in. So again, this gospel is good news that the scribes and Pharisees was totally against. Was causing a lot of problems, but the Most High, along with the Messiah, knew the mission had to be complete. So, anyone want to add to that? Because I know I probably left some meat on that. All right. Well, if not, we'll go to the next verse.
Whosoever putteth away his wife and marrieth another committeth adultery. And whosoever marrieth her that is put away from her husband committeth adultery.
Brother Terry, you wanna add anything to that? That's, I mean, it's kind of self-explanatory, but I don't know if you had something your brother and I want to bring out.
No, not at this time.
Okay. What about you, brother? Albright?
No, I did want to go back to 16 and 17 real quick, though. I was on mute.
Okay.
You know, as it says in verse 16, the law and the prophets were until John. Since then, the kingdom of heaven or kingdom of God is preached, and every man presseth into it. And then he goes on to say that it is easier for heaven and earth to pass than one tittle of the law to fail. In another account, he says that he came not to destroy the law, but to fulfill it.
God.
And that not one tittle of the law will be undone. And so recognizing that Hamashiach is the fulfillment of the law and the prophets, which is why when he, on the night of his passion, he said that it was finished, which is finishing that which was prophesied to be finished through the law, as and segue into what the prophet spoke of, which was the coming Messiah, which we talked about earlier in Luke, when it talked about the birth of Hamashiach and how he was a fulfillment of the Isaiah prophecies and so forth. And he said that not one tittle of the law to fail. So it's important that we recognize that, in other places where the Most High says that he is not a man that he shall lie, and that his word will not come back void. And so Hamashiach, in essence, is as he's given this parable or this proclamation and rebuke against the Pharisees about their hearts and about the kingdom in which is now here, it's also important that we see that he's also referring to his coming to take back the crown, if you will, to restore Abba's creation in the order in which he created it, which is that original covenant. So just wanted to show that, bring that out, that he is rebuking them because of their love for all the things of this world. And as we brought out in First John, that the love of this world is and those who are attached to this world, those are the ones who do not have the ears to hear. These are the wise ones that we talked about before, and those who do not care for the poor and who sit in the high seats and that are haughty, and that he was coming to bring forth that change, right? And that now it's time to preach and to continue the what the prophets had started, and many of them being persecuted through the fulfillment of the kingdom of heaven, who Hamashiach is that door. So just wanted to bring that out, please.
Oh, praise. Thank you, brother. Well said. Well said. All right. Next verse.
19.
Mhm.
19. There was a certain rich man which was clothed in purple and fine linen, and fared sumptuously every day. And flared sumptuously every day.
Go ahead, next verse.
And there was a certain beggar named Lazarus, which was laid at his gate, full of sores, and designed to be fed with the crumbs which fell from the rich man's table. Moreover, the dogs came and licked his sores.
All right. So here we go. We have the rich man and the poor man. And we have a man that basically goes by. He sees the man basically every day when he goes by and sees that the condition that he's in, but fail to help this brother. So let's see what the scriptures say from a standpoint of wisdom about the poor. So I'm gonna go to Proverbs 19 and 17. Chapter 19, verse 17. So it says, he that ought pity upon the poor, lendeth unto the Lord. That which he ought given will he pay him again. So the scriptures basically again, do unto your brothers as you want have them to do unto you. And that's all back through the filter of the Most High, by the way of the Messiah. And he has stated this time and time and time again. One thing the scriptures also says, and is about the poor. There will always be the poor in the land. There will always be the land full of poor people. But that don't mean that they will remain poor. But if there is some way that someone can help that poor person, as they say, lift them up, help them along their way, that person should go back and do the same thing that was done under him. And when you're doing these type of things, that's when you are doing the will of the Father by the way of the Messiah. So I got a second witness to that as well. And it's all, again, it's in Proverbs, chapter 14, verse 31. And it states, he that oppresses the poor reproaches his master, but he that honoreth him out mercy on the poor. So again, well, there's always going to be the poor in the land, and we have to take care of those that are unfortunate. And because again, we don't know when we will be the ones that fell on hard time, and I'm pretty sure that we all have. And so we got to keep that again in mind of how we should help the poor. What's our role? And once we do that, the Messiah, the Most High, that's when we're in good standing with them both. So let's see what the scriptures say about the rich. Let me go ahead and pull up Acts 20 and 35. Acts 20 and 35. All right. Acts 20 and 35. I have shown you all things, how that so laboring ye ought to support the weak, and to remember the words of Yahushua, how he said, it is more blessed to give than to receive. So again, if we have the means, we should be able, and we should give every chance that we get. That should be a practice of all of us. Because again, once you bless someone in that way, you're getting blessed in another. So let's see what we got here. We'll go back to Proverbs. I have another witness. We're gonna go Proverbs 22 and 9. Still sticking with the rich, or for the most part, those that have. 22 and 9. He that ought a bountiful eye shall be blessed, for he giveth of his bread to the poor. So giving to the poor is a blessing. And again, we should definitely seek out to help those. In Proverbs 22, I got one more, Proverbs 22 and 2, the rich and the poor meet together. The Lord is the maker of them all. So regardless if you're rich or you're poor, the Most High made you. And our duty on this earth is to worship and praise the Most High, whether you have or you don't. All right, so we go ahead with the next verse.
And it came to pass.
Go ahead.
And it came to pass that the beggar died and was carried by the angels into Abraham's bosom. The rich man also died and was buried. And in hell he lifted up his eyes, being in torment, and seeth Abraham afar off and Lazarus in his bosom.
All right, so here we go. Let's go going back, pick it back off the last verse that I brought out in Proverbs 22 and 2. The rich and the poor meet together. The Lord is the maker of them both. So here it is. Both was taken, and the Most High made both the rich and the poor. The poor man ended up in Abraham's bosom, and that's a parable that the Messiah had brought out. And here it is. Now he's in a good place. The roles have switched. And like Brother Terry was talking earlier about the company. So here it is. He's in the company of Abraham in his bosom, because this brother apparently, even in his despair, even in his state, apparently had to be doing the will of the Father. Where this rich man had every means of the world, but apparently he wasn't doing the will of the Father, and he ended up in torment in hell. So, and it's kind of crazy that you would kind of think, I don't know if anyone ever thought like this, but you have riches of this world, and so you are free in a lot of ways, freed up. Your time is freed up, because that's a lot of things. That's the most that's a lot of problems that common people have, is time. We don't have much time to do a lot of things. But most time when you're rich, you have the time to do all kinds of things, and it mostly unfruitful things. But you would think that your mind could be on the Most High. You know, you have that time to really get into your scriptures and this, that, and really get close to the Most High. But usually it's just the opposite. And we people that with limited time, we scratching our way to get to the scriptures. We trying to do the right thing. But it's just a thought of my head that is how the rich carry on. But go ahead with the next verse, bro.
And he cried and said, Father Abraham, have mercy on me, and send Lazarus, that he may dip the tip of his finger in water and cool my tongue, for I am tormented in this place, in this flame.
All right, so here it is. He's asking Father Abraham for a favor, to ask a man that he has went by every day and wouldn't even give him a thought, wouldn't even let him eat the crumbs of his table. And quickly how life turns. And on a spiritual level as well, we have to make sure that we are in tune with our spirit, and more or less the flesh. We make sure that we suppress that flesh, because our flesh, as we know, is warring with our spirit. And apparently, this rich man, he was more of the flesh than the spirit. But now he's in torment. He's in turmoil, and he wants this man to help. He wants Father Abraham to ask this man to come and dip his finger, touch his tongue with water. And you think about that, and it would be very hard for someone to do that. But the humility that this poor man has, more than likely he would have done it if he had the opportunity. But I digress. But go ahead with the next verse, bro.
But Abraham said, Son, remember that thou in thy lifetime receiveth the good things, and likewise Lazarus evil things. But now he is comforted, and thou art tormented.
Done. So again, we have to be careful in this world. We have to be careful that we don't get caught up in this world. We have to be careful of the things that we do, the way we treat our brothers. Again, the second greatest commandment, do unto others as you would have them to do unto you. And if we would really think about that and live that and remind ourselves of that, we would be walking straight and narrow, and we wouldn't be in a situation where our souls are definitely in jeopardy. So again, it's about the spiritual walk. This is not a fleshly walk. This is a spiritual walk. And believe me, I know that these scriptures, the great thing about the New Testament is repetitive. And the thing about life and sin is repetitive. So we have to make sure that we on the right side of that repetitive. Go ahead with the next verse, bro.
And besides all this, between us and you, there is a great gulf fixed, so that they which would pass from hence to you cannot, neither they pass to us that would come from thence.
Okay, so this go fast is the basis of a separation, a big separation where you're not gonna be able to cross. Again, if we talking heaven and we talking hell, light and dark and don't mix, and it just don't coincide. So he was letting them to know that I couldn't send him if I wanted to send him. It's too great of a separation here. So, and so this brother looking for this water, this little bit of relief, is not going to get it. But again, we have to make sure that we keep this in mind, because there's a great separation that we need to be separated. We need to try our best to separate on a spiritual level away from all this wickedness, these worldly things, these worldly thoughts. We should definitely pray that Psalm 51:10 to give us a clean heart and a renewed spirit. And again, that second greatest commandment, we already know the first by default. That second greatest commandment goes a long way and holds a lot of weight. Because if this brother would have done what he's supposed to be done, he wouldn't have never went through what he was going through. Go ahead with the next verse, brother. Or anyone want to add anything? Again, feel free. Brother Terry.
27. Then he said, I pray thee therefore, Father, that thou would have sent him to my father's house, for I have 5 brethren, that he may testify unto them, lest they also should come unto this place of torment.
All right, so he had 5 brothers, and more likely they're doing the same thing that he was doing. You know, not doing the Father's will. So now he's asking Father Abraham, can he please send someone to warn his brothers? It's a nice thought. It's a brotherly thought to look out for your brother. But once you're in a position that has you bind where you can't help now, it's fruitless. So go ahead with the next verse.
Abraham saith unto him, they have Moses and the prophets. Let them hear them.
All right, so we all know Moses was a prophet. And he led the children of Israel. He was one to listen to. He was one of the great prophets that the Most High gave us and our forefathers to instill to the day. Again, the greatness of Moses can't be erased, because he was a great leader, and they had him to study. And the prophets, Jeremiah and all the prophets, Ezekiel, Daniel. And so these brothers had the opportunity to study and read about these great prophets, but apparently their mind was on their treasures, which their heart was where it wanted to be, which was possibly money and worldly things. So they're ignoring the prophets. They're not paying attention to what Moses had to say or any other prophets had to say. But go ahead with the next verse.
And he said, nay, Father Abraham, but if one went unto them from the dead, they will repent. And he said unto him, if they hear not Moses and the prophets, neither will they be persuaded, though one rose from the dead.
All right, so we're talking about the Messiah right here. You know, it comes full circle. Here it is that Messiah is right there in their face. He has brought them Moses. He had brought them the prophets. He has given them all the information and let them know that the Messiah is here. And by his teaching will save you from yourself, save you from this world. And they were blind to it. They couldn't see it. They could not see it. And he rose and they still didn't believe it. So this parable is very powerful. Again, I hope that I did you brothers and sisters some service by narrating tonight. If anyone else have anything on that last part, because it's me probably left still on that bone, but if not, thank y'all for listening, and I'll turn it over to Brother Terry.
Okay. Anyone have any questions or something you weren't clear on? And I guess someone say something. Okay. Scripture tell us to lay up not treasures which on earth where moth and thieves can come in, but lay up heavenly treasure. And I think that's part of the point of when we are trying to save ourselves. I'm just going to read something real quick in Revelation 3:17. It says, because thou sayest, I am rich and increase with goods and have need of nothing, and knoweth not that thou art wretched and miserable and poor and blind and naked. So what we don't understand the story of the steward, that we are stewards. We have nothing yet. We're only watching it. This body of yours is not yours. You know, we are stewards of this body and what we do in this body. But what we're going to get in the future are true riches, where you're going to be given. That's why you're going to be given a reward. You're going to be given a crown. But right now you have nothing. You're being tried and tested. So in this world, that's why we not to lay up these treasures on earth and look at these things, because these things are temporal. And what we're doing is looking at the physical, this matrix, if you want to call it, this illusion, in order to get to the next, the everlasting, where true riches reside, and where you get your body, physical body is temporary. And it's a flesh and blood will not inherit the kingdom. So you're going to be given a glorified body, and you're going to be given true riches that thieves don't go in and don't perish. You're going to be given a white robe, and around you're going to shine like the stars in the sun. You're going to be given that luminous, and that's where the true riches, what Christ is trying to say, where to get us to get in this life. You know, and we all say this life is like the weed. We perish. It is so short, shortness of days. And we're seeing, especially in this time, we're seeing our friends, loved ones, and we all have to go that way eventually. It's just when you go on that way, what side are you going to be standing on? Are you going to look back and contrast your life, and it's going to be said that he was one to try to grasp and get a hold of all these things that you're going to take. The Egyptians tried to take it with the Egyptian kings. They tried to take their riches with them. And what happened? Thieves and stuff broke into those tombs and took those things. There museums now. Other people claimed them. It said, naked you came into the world, and naked you shall leave. So all of these things, but we think, and that's that revelation. Thou thinkest that you're rich. You think that, but we have nothing. And then 18, it said, I counsel thee to buy of me gold tried in the fire. This is our life and where we stand, that thou mayest be rich, in white raiment, that thou mayest be clothed, and that thy shame and thy nakedness do not appear, and anoint thine eyes with eye salve, that thou mayest see. And see, in these things of the world, Satan has put a cloak in to deceive us, to take our eyes off of true riches and what we, as the children of Israel, and those that can be grafted in, that the Most High has painted a vision in us where true riches are. And we've been traveling, and we've even been told that we are sojourners. We're sojourners. We're passing through. But we seek another land and another kingdom. And if we can be ever so mindful of that and what's happening, and especially in a lot of I would say the church world, they had started this what would you call it, a prosperity gospel. And I think with that, a lot of people got off track with this prosperity gospel, because they were teaching, keep your eyes on the things of the world, believe in these things, confess it, and it be manifested. And the whole focus, the flaw in that prosperity gospel, the whole focus has been what Christ had been preaching against. Not that you can't have things, but that's been the main focus. You got to get where you're going quick, so you need a jet plane. Don't just go with one house, have three, and not just a shack, but a mega mansion. And then you see all of these churches now, some have been abandoned because with what's going on in the world, and I perceive that it's the Most High not pleased. A lot of people have come out of these big congregations and these churches and things, and they have began with the uncertainty of the world, seek the Most High where they are. We're used to going from house to house, breaking bread to bread, from breast to breast. And some of these big things they're on the market and they're falling apart. I know I got carried away, but I'm gonna stop now because I'm starting to feel it. So that's my little piece added. And that was an excellent lesson, brother. And so if there's no question, no further question, what we're gonna do is go to 1 Corinthians 11. If anyone needs to get your bread,